where we got time travel and we got different timelines, and there's the car that flies and time travels, and then there's a train in one of them. And so one of my favorite moments is at the end of it, Doc said the future is not written. So if we can break out of fear and operate in faith, maybe we can get to that future where it's unwritten, where we can be trusted to do bigger things than anything that we've ever seen. So I want to bring that up. So that service gave me an incredible experience. I just want to go back to living a quiet life. And that's not necessarily that easy right now. That there's different things that are going on. And one thing I came across, I've done thousands and thousands of hours of study. I was one of those kids that got a 2.02 GPA because I didn't want to do any high school homework, because I'd rather be out playing and doing things that were more engaging for me. And then when all the lockdowns happened, I became a homework fanatic. I asked, it's like, this is my notes from the earlier speech today, so I'll go off in a little bit different direction, but I got my 2 pages of notes of asking questions and taking action.
Oh, nice.
So that for the last 4 years, that's been everything that I've done is ask questions and take action. And so one of the things I came across was Henry Kissinger. Anybody remember Henry Kissinger?
Mm-hmm.
So he said a couple of things that gave us a few hints, but he left out something very important. He said, if you control the food, the money, and the energy, you can control the people. So if we look at the 4 points that we're bringing to the surface, he straight admits, and this is not in the last 4 years, this is 50 years ago, he straight admits that they wanted to control us. And so, have the energy prices gone up? Oh my goodness. I remember filling my gas tank on my car for like $12. I remember, and I'm not that old, I know people paid half the price for gas that I did, but, food prices have doubled. And so we've got food, energy, and money. So the money, they keep printing more. And I ask people, I'm like, and on this tour stop, I actually don't have any precious metal with me. I traveled last year and the year before, and I actually had 80 ounces of silver on me. And it was fun. It's like, one, I didn't trust anybody else to keep it for me. And two, I wanted to teach all the TSA about real money. So my bag goes through the machine, going my person, so I kind of found out about the Fourth Amendment. We have privacy, except for whenever you have a catastrophe and they make all kinds of new rules. So they come up with the new controls for us. So then we go through a screening process, and they, look into us. They look into our bags, and so it beeps because I got all this stuff in my bag, and what do you got in there? And I'm like, it's 80 ounces of silver. I'm like, it's real money. Could you imagine if the dollar went to hyperinflation? Somebody uses the word Venezuela as an example, and it's like, well, I haven't been to Venezuela, but I know that hyperinflation would not be good. It's like, especially for somebody traveling on the road. So in any case, I would share with the TSA agents, hey, this is real money. That an ounce of silver might be $25 or $30 or somewhere around there. But if the dollar were to collapse, then would it be worth 10 times that or 30 times that in a heartbeat? So obviously the logo's really small on here. I stayed up until about 3 in the morning last night because there's an amazing person that is sponsoring us, Matt from Verity Metals, and I just wanted to spend every minute talking with him because I value his support. I wouldn't be on the road without his support, and I wouldn't have this opportunity to speak freely. I'm so censored on social media right from the beginning because I started working with whistleblowers and truthers, investigators. I got slammed right from the beginning. So this morning when I spoke, there's already thousands of people that have seen that message. That is the biggest audience I've had in 4 years. So the biggest audience in person is probably 50 to 100. So I am so honored by everybody that came out today, and I'm honored by everybody that's listening online. But so Kissinger talked about food, energy, money. Well, the crazy thing about energy is I was looking at one of our contracts, and we're not allowed to talk about energy companies in one location. There's a certain country we're not allowed to talk about, and then there's a certain energy that we're not allowed to talk about. I'm like, isn't that interesting? So, it's amazing that they have that much power that they can just supersede our constitutional rights and just tell us what to do. And how I found that out was the Google lawsuit against, there was a lawsuit that went to the Ninth Circuit Court and about Section 230 and trying to get relief from the censorship of Section 230. Well, 90 days later, the judge says, well, it's their policy. They can pretty much do whatever they want. Something along those lines. But it's like, okay, well, if we have that much censorship, where does it go back to? So that corporate level of law, the two-tiered system of justice, the control goes back to 1871. So the United States was actually incorporated. And so, wait a minute, why wasn't I taught about that in high school? I know that I got a 2.02 GPA, but obviously I learned something because I could have any job in the Navy except for nuclear propulsion. Which now that I know about energy, I was like, shoot, I would have done high school all over again, so that way I could have learned about nuclear propulsion, so that way, I could have been Q clearance and maybe understand about 0-point energy, and maybe I could have understood how you can make a car go hundreds of miles in a gallon of water or hydrogen or magnetic propulsion, different things out there. And but going back to Kissinger, the part that he left out, he said food, money, energy. He left out information. If we go back to Kennedy spoke, and please forgive me if I get any of this slightly wrong because I wasn't there. I was born in '79, so, but I've done a lot of research and I really admire Kennedy. I didn't realize what a great president he has left as a legacy. So he goes and speaks to the press and he talks about 2 words. I'm going to pull 2 words from his speech. Intimidation. Has anybody noticed that we've had a bit of intimidation in the last 4 or 5 years in our country? And the other word that was in that speech, please take a message. I know Bruce likes to make sure that I get all my voicemails and notes and keep up on my emails. And so
intimidation.
Yeah, so Bruce is way better at telling jokes than I am. Thank you for getting me back. So there's the intimidation, but there's the infiltration. And there's people that have come into our country. So obviously Kissinger wasn't from our country. And then I even found out, and I asked somebody very well known. I said, so George H.W. Bush, was he born in Germany? Was he George H. Sherf Jr.? Because there's a gentleman named Otto Skorzeny that gave a deathbed confession that he grew up with a person that became a president of the United States in Germany. So obviously the news didn't pick up that story. Where was that? I mean, it got out on the internet in a few places, but that's a highly censored story. If we go back to that funeral of George H.W. Bush, there was a lot that happened there. And if we don't look at that closely, there was a massive shift there. So when people say, oh, nothing's happening, it's one, because either you're watching sports or movies, or you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you're a little bit too busy. But I was put out of work. So I had plenty of time to do the research and find out, wait a minute, there's something going on there. So I would say the first thing is, let's open our mind. you know, maybe we've had tunnel vision because we've been after our career or our goals or our you know, it's like we've been thinking. So I love that our country's ruggedly individualistic. You know, like we've got the cowboys and we've got the, you know, the people that are entrepreneurs. But at the same time, do we really care about our neighbors? And there's so many places I've traveled around the country and it's like I barely even know my neighbors. You know, it's like, you know, thankfully I live in a community right now that people are getting to know each other a little bit more. And it just starts with something simple. You know, hi, my name is, how are you? You know, it's like, and one of the biggest things, so I worked as a rideshare driver for a couple of years, making sure that you know the person's name, and then, what's your name?
Laura Lee.
Laura Lee, Andrew.
Andrew.
And Jeff.
So, you know, and I would ask, you know, okay, so where are we going today? Okay, I would confirm the location. Then I'd ask a question. Because I had filled my mind full of thousands of hours of information. I've been studying and studying and studying. I've just, you know, I've been working with the Google whistleblower for 3.5 weeks. I had all kinds of information. I learned more in 3.5 weeks than I learned in my whole life. And so I started trying to tell people. That doesn't work very good. Why? Because we have free will. And we have a defense system. Because there's a lot of BS out there. And I do my best to be as honest as I can. But I'm human. I might mess something up. So, you know, I do the best research I can. I give the best information I can. But, you know, if I get any of this right, you'll know that I've done my homework well. So, the part about connecting